Hello, welcome back to the Your Galactic Guide podcast. This is Ankara Sage, your host. Today's episode is all about change. We'll be going into a bit of a body journey, weight loss journey. We'll be going into business and terms and conditions change, and also a change in general and my perspective on it and how it's shifted over time, and the change in my style and environment changing and how that surprised me, I guess, and what I've learned through the journey. So this is going to be a chit-chat conversation. This is going to be a have a cuppa episode where we are going to connect heart to heart through storytelling and through honoring all of the layers of us and of us as women and of us as changeable, mutable, flexing, bending, and gaining wisdom beings. I was speaking on a recent conversation for the podcast, which we will link it in the notes down below so you can go and listen to it. And we were referencing how wisdom has us realize how much we don't know. And something that I feel very compelled to share through this lens is that I don't have all the answers. And part of the reason why is because I'm so much more wise now. But what I do have is a fuckload more answers than I did have. But that wisdom leads me to also then realize how much I do not know yet. And that's a really interesting paradox to live in. And without all of the work of mastering my multidimensionality and honoring my multidimensionality, I wouldn't even be able to speak about this, and I probably wouldn't even feel compelled to talk about it. And I think I'll probably begin with body stuff. Now, last year in 2025, I set a new intention and goal for my body. And it was that I wanted to lose weight, and a significant amount of weight. And I was very emotionally, physically, karmically ready. Like, I had reclaimed so many versions of me in the previous years before that I realized, oh my God, all of that was for this now moment and why this now moment is feeling so correct. And I made some really big decisions and had some huge celebrations, like so much less anxiety around exercising out of doors and around other people and being seen with like a moving body. My God, I had so much that I'd moved through in regards to that. And I'm not sure whether you resonate with this or not, but like for me, one of the realizations I came down to was like, a body that has fat on it or a body that is all muscle, obviously we're talking polarities here and it's not 100% accurate, but for the sake of the description in my head, they both have movement when they move, if that makes sense. I was always so insecure about my body jiggling or my body moving as it was fucking moving, and what I realized over time is that yes, there were specific trauma points for that for me. Comments made in my teenage years that, railroaded me essentially and took me years to figure out why and also a combining also to trigger warning here. I had a sexual assault also while out exercising, maybe 2020 or 2019. I can't remember what year. Anyway, 5-ish years ago. And obviously, there's a lot of layers there. And so last year in 2025, I, for the first time, worked with a psychologist for this. I had seen therapists, but not psychologists. And that was was my first experience with a psychologist. And that was such a powerful experience for me. And I met myself in way new layers and way deeper than I would have ever had the capacity for in these kind of topics. But what I did know is through my journey of business and parenting and healing the layers of wealth and parenting, that I had met myself in such deep ways in other areas of my life. So I knew that I was going to be okay. I knew that even when I was butting up against, trauma and anxiety and shutdown and really triggering deep emotions and deep experiences, that I was going to be okay, and that I could hold myself and not be okay that I'm not okay, because I saw the full circle. I have seen the full circle moments and patterns play out in other areas of my life with such depth that I knew that it would clear eventually, if that makes sense. But also not to just clear it to make it clear. Like that's the area of shadow work where it's like that. I guess the level that I'm now at, it's like honoring the duality and the contrast to the extent where I don't actually want it to go away. That is not the reason why I'm doing this. I'm doing this shadow work. I'm going through these layers because it's the right thing for me at that point in time, for me to meet more versions of myself and meet more edges of myself and to reclaim so many versions of me that were left behind, because there are pieces holding me back from the actions that I want to do in the day-to-day moment. So confronting a lot last year in 25 was a lot. And I walked out of the year last year not having achieved everything that I had wanted to. And I know a lot of you are going to resonate with this, whether it's through your body, whether it's through your relationships, whether that's through meeting someone, the love of your life, whether that's through parenting or through business goals. There are so many times that we set business goals that we do not meet them. And I guess, and for the first time with a body goal, well, not the first time, but the first time with the renewed sense of this time's going to be the time, if that makes sense, where I'd reclaimed so many versions of me. For the first time on that topic, on that edge, I didn't hit the goals. And I had the same experience that I have had for many years with business goals or with financial goals or with relationships or with family or with even my body prior, but in a different kind of way, which is that, like, one of peace, one of complete understanding. Because bitch, if you're not going to understand yourself, no one else is going to. Okay, you have to be giving yourself the ultimate grace, the ultimate understanding, the ultimate love for all of the multidimensionality that you are holding and have experienced and are experiencing, because you are the only one who can actually give yourself that permission slip. And so I walked out of the year in 25 not having achieved everything that I wanted to by far, but also honoring all of the personal layers that I went through, as well as other emotional layers. Like, I've butted up against a whole set of new grief with losing my father over the past couple of years in so many different ways. I did some homeopathic medicine for the first time, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And that, for the first time, enabled me to actually experience anger about my father passing. And, many, many, many layers. And then last year we had a family friend husband pass away, and he was also a father, and Clara is friends with one of his daughters, and that has brought up new layers for me, and new layers seeing Clara watch her friend go through that, and me watching my friend parent through that, and watching her daughters go through losing their father. There are so many layers and other family health challenges. And I walked out of the year last year going, holy fuck, that was the biggest year ever. And do you know what I didn't do? You know what I didn't do? I didn't spiral, I didn't gain weight. I did still lose weight, but I didn't go anywhere near my intention. Nowhere fucking near my intention. However, I can see the massive precipitation as to how much I have changed to honor myself and honor my journey and hold so much depth whilst moving towards a goal, whilst being a mama, whilst developing and creating the best fucking relationship ever. My husband and I, it's 18 years this year that we have been together in union, and we have come to a point where we are the happiest we have ever been in our relationship. And it's fucking phenomenal. Like, to have this joy of this relationship and the family relationships and everything that we have overcome and the things we create with our family and the standards and the values in which we hold and the character we're developing and the skills we're developing. Like, life is truly a joyous shitstorm of constant creation, of constant healing, of constant breaking molds and fixing up things, doing the fixer-upper with renovation and like expanding past limits and sitting with ourselves and witnessing one another as we do all of these things. And it's just a fucking joy. With the body, I feel like I know so many things now that I didn't know, and am able to now move physically and figuratively in ways that I wasn't able to before. And I changed. Another big area of change for me that has precipitated, I guess, and finalized now today with me updating my terms and conditions on my website, is this era of hardness has shifted, I guess. And I think the hardness comes from protection. So like when I think about the body, and when I think about my emotional eating or binge eating in the past or those kinds of things, it is a protection form. I'm trying to process something. And similar in business, like we can really harden in business or online or with our employees or with our leadership. But I realized when I was looking through just some statistics for page views of my website and a report that we generated and how many people were visiting. It was my privacy policy, and I was like, fuck, I've not looked at this stuff for years. So it was 2022 when they were last updated. Privacy disclaimer and terms and conditions. I think terms and conditions were updated in 23 last, but still, whatever the fuck. And I was like, oh, this is so old. I so need to update this. And obviously laws and stuff change as well. So I needed to update some stuff in regards to law in New Zealand. Any fucking who. One of the things that we removed from, and specifically from my terms and conditions, was around, we had a failure penalty fee, whatever the fuck it's called. And I remember adding that into my terms and conditions. And when I did, it was from a place of hardening. And while we never actually ever enforced it, I wanted people to read it and go, oh, she's serious or whatever. And what I've realized is that I don't need to have that kind of thing, because I was never going to enforce it. We never enforced it anyway, so why the fuck have it there? I don't have anything to prove. And that was a really interesting experience, combined with the other area of change, which was really notable. Oh, that's right, for this year, that I've realized is like my tastes have changed for my desires in my environment and my lifestyle and my expression, and it's been a gradual change. You know, like I'm just really inspired by like retro era and 90s era, and of course there's so many things that inspire this. Like one of the things is us giving our children a 90s upbringing as much as possible. You know, like we got a landline and they haven't had iPads for a few years, and you know, they call up the fish and chip shop and order the food. You know, they have their little list they write down and they order their fish and chips. And, you know, we deal with cash as much as we can. And, you know, we make our own food and make our own bread and give gifts of love, you know, homegrown flowers and lettuce and just, you know, like actual, like just 80s and 90s. I mean, we know, right? You when you're listening, you know. The nostalgia. And then I started editing towards the end of last year, like our family albums. I started editing them with like 90s retro film kind of, what's that thing called? The add-on. Like Photoshop, but it's not in Photoshop. Like a preset in Photoshop, but it's not Photoshop. Literally, undefined hand center, cannot remember what the fuck that word is, but I think you get what I mean, where it's like grainy and less focused, and the blue is really blue, you know, and there's less detail, and it's really, you know, because obviously, as I already tapped into earlier with fragments of myself, reclaiming fragments of myself with the anger, from my father passing in the 90s, and the nostalgia of looking back at those photos and reliving those memories has really, as well as us buying a 1960s original home that we're renovating a few years ago. And originally I wanted to gut the entire place, and I wanted to put up all new jib and the perfect, get rid of all the wood and redo the outside and get rid of the brick and make everything brand new and make it all millennial fucking not grey, but millennial white and modern and sleek and no one lives in it. And I wanted to take all of the character out of it. I wanted to strip it back and I wanted to make it into something else because I couldn't see the beauty in what it was. And eventually I through the journey have become that which I said I never wanted to be. Oh my God. I remember my parents and, my parents' generation always saying they don't make things like they used to anymore, and not buying a new washing machine, for instance, and they'd just buy the parts for it, and the parts would be nearly the same price or whatever. And I found myself so many times buying parts for things. I've got a bread maker. I'm so nostalgic. I have a bread maker, a bread machine that was given to us for our wedding in 2010. And this puppy has done some fucking work. She has made hundreds, if not hundreds, let's just say hundreds, I don't know about thousands, but hundreds of homemade bread loaves. And one day when Joel was making the fucking loaf, so for visuals, there's this machine and then this lift out metal container which you take out and put the water and the yeast and the sugar and the ingredients and the flour in. Oh, and before you do that, you put a paddle on a little shaft, and then you put the ingredients in, you lift up the handle, put the metal container into the bread machine, close the lid, and press the buttons, and it has bread in 3 hours. And Joel was measuring out the ingredients, and he lifted up the metal thing, by the handle, to put it into the bread maker, and the fucking pin at the bottom of the bread machine dropped out, and then water and flour and goop went fucking everywhere. And it was so funny and so crazy, and I just never in a million years anticipated that the fucking pin would fall out, but obviously it'll just rusted or whatever from these hundreds of loaves over however many fucking years. And so I was looking for parts for this thing, okay? I searched and searched and searched and realized I became my mother, and I was my mother every single search I was doing. But because it's such an old machine, it was so hard to find. And in the end, you know what I did? I didn't buy a new bread machine. I bought a second-hand one from the exact same model off Facebook. Because I love that exact machine, and all of my recipes I've developed for that exact machine, and I'm I've become my mother. And just with this house and with renovating and life, there was so many times I just wanted to strip everything out of it and make it new. And eventually I just developed so much love for that which has withstood the test of time, and that which has character. And I really did some deep dives as we are renovating our own house, and that's a whole nother fucking journey. But with my husband and I essentially project managing it and deciding a lot of design stuff, I actually decided to actually research different design types and see what I really valued, rather than just taking what I'd loved in other houses that we've owned or we've lived in and trying to make this like that. Actually be what kind of design do I actually like? What is my aesthetic? What pieces do I love? And I actually really love retro 70s stuff, and I love even older kind of architecture where there's character and there's craftsmanship and there's grooves, and versus today it's all kind of looks like a prison. You know what I mean? It's all just modern architecture not always, obviously there's exceptions, not everybody follows this specific path, but at large it's become streamlined, and just like it's a void. It feels like an empty heart. And I just developed love for retro and for kind of the contemporary style, and combined with other elements like farmhouse and stuff, which I've always loved. But that was quite to a version of me, that was quite shocking, that I would become someone who loves those kind of things. And like, even, op shop, tea sets that I found one that my parents had, that I think my mum only has like one cup now maybe, but I remember it from my childhood, and my father had it, and my mum doesn't know where he got it from. It could have been a family heirloom, I don't know, but it's this very autumnal burgundy kind of tea set with these hand painted autumnal orange, bright orange, burnt orange kind of flowers and stuff on it. And I came across it and I was like, holy shit, I'm buying the whole set. And like, I wouldn't have been that person 10 years ago. I wouldn't have seen value in that. I wouldn't have desired to have that in my home and to use it and to feel the nostalgia and to lean into that side of design or that side of a visual. And that honestly surprised me because I thought I was relatively solid in who I thought I was and what I thought I liked. And through this, it didn't feel like I need to throw everything out of the cot or I need to revisit everything. It was just a really beautiful surprise that, like, all the time, my husband's a 5'1" profile, and when I learnt about that, I realized I cannot assume anything about him, and anything that I think I know about him, I don't actually know. And that was quite challenging for me because I learnt that, after 10 plus 15 years, I don't know, of a relationship, 10 plus years of our relationship. And you do formulate inside your head versions of people and you think you know them. And it was this great softening moment for myself, taking inspiration from that journey of being like, oh, I don't actually know myself. And also, can I allow myself to change? Can I allow myself to meet more of myself, just as I have done in shadow work or in business or in relationships or in love, in parenting, in my body journey? Can I do it in this way? And it was the most beautiful, and is the most beautiful, precipitation and enjoyment. And I feel more myself than I ever have. And I'm excited also to see that transition at any point in time when it decides to in the future. And through the deepening of this journey with myself and this specific body and not wanting to change anything, and my relationship with my husband for a long term, and my love for retro, I guess one of the biggest overarching themes that I have realized is that life has showed me that new is not always better. And that the deepening of what we currently have brings a unshakable sense of peace. Because in these times of no change, we lean on our character development, we lean on our values, we lean on our patience and our peace and our ability to create with what we have and to enjoy what we have. It is deep presence and deep peace coding. And I'm thankful that life has taught me and showed me and provided opportunities for me to be wise now and to learn that new is not always better. It makes my heart sing, and to hold that frequency, because it does enable so much peace. And I hope it does for you. I hope this girlfriend chit chat has felt delicious for your soul and brought you more peace and more activation and more joy and more clarity in this season of life that you are in right now. Remember to check the show notes for the resources that I have mentioned and the exclusive discount code for working with me in the show notes, which is podcast 40 for any of my digital self-paced offers, a 40% off code. One of the newest ones that has launched is Glow, the genetic coding for generators, which is a whole program just for generators. There is a episode, which we will also have linked in the show notes, which is the first module, the opening module for Glow, that you can go and preview and have a taster for generators. This is not for ManiGens. I actually have a separate program for ManiGens, which has not been released yet. So sorry, ManiGens, this is only for generators. I do love me generators, so you're welcome to go and review that. For options to work with me one-on-one, I will also have a link down the show notes for options to speak with me privately. And if you are on my email list, you will get sent a link every single time a new podcast airs, as well as all of the other things going on behind the scenes and the things I'm creating and the whole new offers that I have. So we'll have a link for that down below. It's angharrodsage.com/emails, and you will also get a free digital download of a content calendar, a creation calendar for spiritual entrepreneurs, and how to precipitate and translate your wisdom into a spoken code, into your context, into your marketing, into your posts for social media. And this is a page full of very powerful prompts for you to write that and to speak that in order for you to be able to show your leadership online. Thank you for being here. I love you so much. I'll speak to you soon.